The G1 Climax has begun, and it's been pretty good inside the ropes. While there's been some House of Torture antics, they haven't taken over the entire tournament the way I'd feared anyway. On top of some very good matches, there is a surprise leader, and sadly, we've had an injury. But we're only 4 nights in so far, so early success does not necessarily mean success down the stretch. Also, Hulk Hogan passed away today at the age of 71. Difficult as this may be, we have to talk about him too. So let's get started with Jeremy Finestone. I'm Stephen Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Jeremy, it's good to see you again here. We had gotten started with 4 shows. How was your week?
It was going really good until I felt like, today, last night. It's been a busy week, and I did all the prep work for the show, last night. And I thought, okay, great. I'll do work in the morning and I'll grab a quick nap and then come in fresh for the show. No, that did not happen today, Stephen. Everything went off the rails, and honestly, Hulk Hogan was the least of my worries, but we're going to have to talk about him today. And yeah, I've enjoyed the G1, but life is just going really fast right now.
Yeah, a little bit. So let's begin with Hogan. It's the wrestling business. This is one of the biggest names that has ever been in it. So there's really no avoiding it. And so I think it's somebody that was what we talked about earlier, by the way. Like, everybody's day changed when that news came out. Certainly Dave Meltzer's did. He's going to have to put something together now for Hogan. And where do you even begin on that? Good grief. You think that WWE, certainly their plans for everything for SmackDown got thrown up in the air. They're going to have to change everything. Even AEW has to acknowledge this. He was never in AEW, but you can't ignore the guy. He was a pivotal figure in TNA. Even they have to look at it somehow. So
the fingerprints were everywhere. That's what we were talking about before.
Yeah,
we got started. It's like, as much as this is a New Japan podcast, the reality is you and I probably wouldn't be doing a podcast if Hulk Hogan didn't exist.
Yeah, you're right. And especially with New Japan, he has a very, very important role in New Japan's history. So he passed away apparently a cardiac arrest. Apparently hadn't been in good health since some spinal fusion surgery he had, but details will be coming out.
Can I say something really quick before we get into this?
Yeah, please.
Hulk Hogan is a complicated individual. Most of the decisions that he made are things that I do not disagree with. And however we proceed to discuss him is not an endorsement of him as a person or any of the decisions that he's made. We're simply acknowledging the complex issue that while Hulk Hogan or Terry Bollea was a not great person, if you really want to delve into it, it is irrefutable that the impact of Hulk Hogan, the persona in pro wrestling, is among the most cataclysmic personalities to ever come through pro wrestling, and we have to talk about it.
So I began to watch wrestling in 1983, which was a pivotal year for the entire industry, really. A lot of things were lining up and being put into place in a way that would define what wrestling would become over the next 20 years or so. And when I fell in love with this stuff, Hulk Hogan was already the biggest babyface star in the world with the AWA. Hulkamania did not begin with the WWF. It was well underway in the AWA, which was one of the big 3. The AWA, NWA, WWF. People argued about which one was better. The business was strong with all of them. And at the time, the AWA, based in Minneapolis, but they also had a wide-ranging territory that involved a lot of major cities, San Francisco, the whole Bay Area, really. Denver was a big one for them, Las Vegas, Winnipeg, and all this. And, of course, Milwaukee as well, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Chicago. It was a major, major company. And Hogan was the biggest star. He wasn't the champion, but there were a lot of reasons for that. And part of him was New Japan. He was one of With respect to Kenny, with respect to AJ, and I have tons of respect for Kenny and AJ, even Big Van Vader, the biggest foreign star New Japan Pro Wrestling ever had was Hulk Hogan. And he was already a major star in New Japan by the time I had ever found out what wrestling was. And I learned about him in Japan a little bit from flipping through the wrestling magazines at the supermarket with my mom. She would kind of drop me off by the magazine rack.
Sure.
And while she was shopping every Saturday, I would go through all the wrestling magazines, and there were a bunch. Back then, it was beautiful. They had so many. It was Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, Inside Wrestling, and many more than that. I'm not. Those are just the ones that come to mind right off the top of my head. And I would find out that there was a whole industry in Japan and in Mexico. And I want to say hi to some of the people here, and we'll get to your comments. Colin, Brad, I'm glad you guys are here. Jeremy, glad you're here. And like you said, Jeremy, two things can be true. He can be one of the greatest draws in the history of the business, and he can be a repugnant human being, a liar who seemed to become more vehemently racist by the year as he got older. But before all that, I was a Hulkamaniac as a little kid.
Sure.
I remember going to shows, and the opening of Eye of the Tiger would hit. And this is 1984, 1985.
Before Real American.
Yeah, they tried a couple of songs in between there before they settled on Real American that didn't quite work. But when the opening of Eye of the Tiger hit, which is, of course, from Rocky III, it was like a real-life superhero was coming down to the ring. And I can't explain the noise in the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago when you would hear that sound. That opening guitar lick, place would just explode. It was, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Hulk Hogan was walking down the ring. It was like that. Evil is going to be vanquished here. And I was there for his god-awful movie on the day it came out. I was there.
No Holds Barred?
No Holds Barred.
I went to No Holds Barred opening weekend. It was a big deal to me.
And
I was like Dookie.
I was the only nerd in the theater that was just like, oh, that's Stan Hansen. There's Terry Funk. There's like all these other guys in the fight scenes. But yeah, and so it's a strange day. It's a difficult day.
Sure.
But we're going to talk about Hogan in New Japan. It's a New Japan podcast. Hulk Hogan became a monster star in New Japan his first full year in the business. This is how fast it happened. Like, he started in 1977, got hurt. There are a lot of places that are going to cover that, and most of it's going to be garbage that you hear, by the way, and most of it's going to be complete garbage because Hogan lied as easily as he breathed and made up stories. But he also wrestled mostly in 1979 is when he really started. And he went around to a bunch of territories, a lot of territories. He was in Memphis. He was in he was down in South with the Fullers in Alabama. He was in Florida. He was WWF. But he was first booked to New Japan by Vince McMahon, the older Vince, James McMahon, not the current one, not the current Vince. And it began as early as May of 1980 when he came over for the Madison Square Garden series. That was when he was first booked for New Japan Pro Wrestling. That was even before the famous Shea Stadium show where with Classy Freddie Blassie, he met Andre the Giant in the ring for the first time underneath the Bruno Larry Zbyszko steel cage match. There was a monster show in the WWF at Shea Stadium. Even before that, he was in New Japan, and they put him right to the top. Seemed like everywhere he went right to the top. I mean, he main evented all these spots. And just, funny thing about Hogan is, he was a bodybuilder who wanted to be a rock star, and then he got into wrestling, and he went to the top in that far faster than almost anybody does. It's as soon as he got to New Japan, he was booked on top. He went over huge. He was beating a very young Riki Choshu right out of the gate. He was beating strong Kobayashi, who was one of their top draws in the 70s. Kengo Kimura, one of their top draws in the day. His only loss on his first tour was to Antonio Flippin' Inoki, and it was by DQ. They didn't even beat him in a pin or a count out. Beat him by disqualification. So he was beating all the top stars and only losing by Inoki, who was scraping by disqualifications. That was his first tour. He ended up going back in October or so. He teamed with Stan Hansen, faced more of the top guys in the company. Stan hadn't jumped to All Japan yet. Didn't lose a single match clean. Didn't lose a single match clean. He even faced WWF champion Bob Backlund in Japan and only lost by disqualification. They didn't even put the world heavyweight champion over him. Again, he's going over Top Stars in October. This time he was teaming with Paul Orndorff, Jimmy Garvin, Chavo Guerrero. So that was more of a Florida crew than the WWF crew that went over there in May. And he teamed up with Hansen. Hansen was the top foreign star in New Japan at the time. And they paired him up, Stan Hansen and Hulk Hogan, in the Madison Square Garden Tag League in December. They had a December tag team tournament too. It's called Madison Square Garden Tag League. That was the first tag league. They didn't do a job in the tournament, but they had draws with Johnny Powers and Ox Baker. If that match actually went 30 minutes, Jeremy, I can't fathom how god awful that had to be. There's only so much that Johnny Powers and Stan Hansen could do, but Ox Baker, holy Lord, 30 minutes of Ox Baker is a lot of Ox Baker. But they also had double countouts with Inoki and Bob Backlund, and Andre the Giant and the Hangman. That was Neil Guy, a Canadian, French Canadian wrestler. So two French Canadians there, the Hangman and Andre, and that was it. Double countouts with those guys. They had a DQ loss to Ueda and Tiger Jeet Singh in a match that just had to be chaos, because Ueda was the chaos goblin of his time, a little bit like a more violent Toru Yano, and Tiger Jeet Singh was basically doing the Sheik's act in New Japan, where you just run around and stab people with forks and all that. They lost in the finals to Inoki and back, so they finished second on points in the tournament, and then faced Inoki and Backlund, so the world heavyweight champion of the WWF and the owner, founder, chief bottle washer, and biggest star in history of New Japan. That's who beat them in the tournament finals, and it was Stan, I think, that did the job. That was Hogan's first full year in pro wrestling. He started in 1979. 1980 is the first time he went from New Year's Day to December 31st in the wrestling business, and the guy's one of the biggest stars in Japanese pro wrestling. That's how fast it all happened. In 1981, he was again touring all the different territories in the U.S., but he had 66 matches in New Japan. 66. He was there a lot, and he wrestled with Bobby Duncombe, Dusty Rhodes, more with Stan Hansen, Dick Murdoch. Finally did a job for Antonio Inoki in Nagoya. So he was taking some losses, but only to Inoki. Everybody else, Fujinami, Choshu, Kimura, he was beating them. 1982, now he's the star in the AWA. They tried to make him a heel, and it didn't work. They would put Hogan in squash matches against two guys, right? Handicap matches. He beat them both. And they gave him Luscious Johnny V as his manager at first in the AWA. Still got over as a babyface. Crowd went crazy for him. They couldn't make him a heel. Something similar started to happen in Japan. He was so dominant that the crowd started turning toward him. In 1982, he had 81 matches. 81 matches. He was there almost 1/3 of the year in 1982. He teamed with Inoki in the tag team tournament that time. So he became popular enough that it basically flipped him. And while he would always kind of be part of the, he would wrestle against Inoki and against the top guys, he could also wrestle with him, and the crowd liked him. They won, Inoki and Hogan. This time they won the World Tag League, and they defeated Killer Khan and Tiger Taguchi in the finals. And then in 1983, I want to make sure I get that right. This time it was Inoki and Hogan again. And they went to the finals again, and this time they faced Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch, the classic tag team that held the WWF tag team title for a while there. They faced Adonis and Murdoch in the final, and won that in 1980. Was that 1983? Yeah, 1983. I'm just getting all this kind of. I want to make sure I get this right. Andre the Giant and Swede Hansen actually had a better score in the block play. So Swede Hansen and Andre the Giant, but Swede got hurt, and they couldn't go on. So Adonis and Murdoch from third place went into the finals and had to do that. So again, just barely losing in New Japan the whole time. Now he's teaming with the number one guy in the whole company and the owner founder. So that's 1982. And now he's number one guy in the AWA. 1983, still the number one guy in the AWA. They held the first IWGP tournament. Now, this is where things get confusing to a lot of people. We mentioned on this show before in history segments that the G1 Climax had a lot of names over the years. The Madison Square Garden Series, the World League, the IWGP, the International Wrestling Grand Prix. That was the name of the tournament.
Right.
Hogan in 1983 was in the first one that was called the IWGP. He went unbeaten in block play, beat everybody except there was a double count out with Andre and a double count out with Antonio Inoki. That was it. He faced Inoki in the finals, and he beat Inoki by count out when he clobbered Inoki. If you ever see this, he absolutely blisters Inoki with an axe bomber. His finisher in Japan was a lariat. It was a lariat, and he threw it great. He absolutely mashes Inoki with this thing. Inoki splatters to the floor and gets counted out. Inoki sells it like he's been murdered. I mean, just like he's been shot. They have to come and pick up his corpse and carry it out. Just shocking, that Hogan has destroyed this guy. To the point that in some stories, assisted by Hogan, it was a shoot. He actually did injure. No, he didn't. It was a work. Inoki just put the dude over. Inoki knew what kind of a star he had. And so at that point, he won the IWGP. He did not win the IWGP championship. And I want to clarify this. Back then, the tournament winner was considered the IWGP champion. It was not a belt that was defended. There were no defenses. You were just the IWGP winner until someone won the next IWGP. And in 1984, Inoki won it. And so there's
the belt was a trophy.
Yes, but it wasn't something that was like a title that was defended from show to show. That didn't happen. You were in the same way that Zack Sabre Jr. is the G1 champion until someone else wins the G1. It's not really, it wasn't a belt. It didn't become a championship belt to be defended until years later, and Hogan wasn't a part of that. So he never actually held a title belt as a defending thing in New Japan. They gave him the trophy, they gave him a ceremonial belt, and he was the first IWGP winner, but it's a little bit of a misnomer to say he was the IWGP champion. So just want to clarify that for little pedantic nerds like me. Even after winning the WWF championship, so of course he jumped. I mentioned it in 1983 being pivotal. The first Starrcade, Hulk Hogan jumps to the WWF. All that happens within a month. A million things went on in that at the end of 1983. Hogan becomes the WWF champion. Even after he's the WWF champion, he keeps making tours for New Japan and makes a lot of appearances. And I think people have an idea that it ended after that, but he was there throughout in 1984. Wrestled there, had 28 matches for New Japan in 1984. So he spent over a month
wrapping that run up, huh?
Hulk. Well, not even. So in 1985, really? he made 19 appearances even after the first WrestleMania. So a lot of people think that ended. It went longer than people think. Like even after the first WrestleMania, when WWF was isolationist, do not acknowledge the presence of the NWA. We don't know who those people are. They don't exist. They are not on our level. Hulk Hogan was
Japan. It was like whatever.
Hulk Hogan was flying off to wrestle for New Japan, and of course we saw a little of that coming back. Right, George Takano, the Cobra, and Mark Rollerball Rocco, the first Black Tiger, wrestled at Madison Square Garden in that time. So you would see a little bit of that working relationship sometimes. Inoki and Fujinami would pop up in the United States. Going into that, 1985, he's still there. And he even defended the WWF title in New Japan. He defended it in both Nagoya and Tokyo against Tatsumi Fujinami. So there were WWF championship matches in New Japan rings in as late as 1985. That was about the end of it, though, because, of course, by the end of 85 into 86, WWF was running sometimes 3 tours at once. The schedule was just too much, and then Hogan had to stay there, and they were, keeping him more in-house. So that did come to an end, and WWF's run with New Japan kind of came to an end. Vince, the current Vince, just got that isolationism then included New Japan. He just kind of shut everything out and just focused on the core business at home. Hogan wouldn't turn up for New Japan again until 1990. They had the big US-Japan Wrestling Summit that involved multiple companies. And we mentioned Stan Hansen. He had teamed with Stan when he was early in his New Japan run. This time, Stan had become the all-time foreign legend for All Japan, along with the Destroyer, Dick Beyer, and the Sheik, and Abdul the Butcher, and those guys. Stan was one of the biggest foreigners for All Japan, and Hogan and Stan wrestled in 1990 in the Tokyo Dome, when the Tokyo Dome was pretty brand spanking new. I think still had the price tag hanging off it. And Hogan ended up beating Stan because, hey, as big of a legend as Stan is, and the fact that Stan was still wrestling in Japan all the time, Hogan doing a job ain't going to work for me, brother. He would continue to make appearances, and I'll keep this quick because I know we've got a lot to get to, but Hogan is a seminal figure.
Sure. I'll add some notes at the end, but whatever. Let's go.
Yeah, he left for he left WWF in 1993. I think most people remember that. He put over Yokozuna at the King of the Ring, made some shows in Europe, wrestling Yokozuna, beating him by disqualification, and then he left the company. But he made shows for New Japan that year, and teaming with the Great Muta against Kensuke Sasaki and Road Warrior Hawk, so Power Warrior and Road Warrior Hawk. He faced Muta as both the Great Muta and as Keiji Muto. Hogan always won every single time. His last appearance was again in the Dome on January 4th, 1994. That was his final New Japan match, beating his old rival Fujinami again at a show that was called Battlefield. That's what the January 4th show was called that year in 1994. And that was the story of Hulk Hogan's run every single time he was in New Japan from the very beginning. He was one of the very top stars, top draws, and was always remembered remembered as a legend in New Japan Pro Wrestling at all times.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan, man. Okay, so I was born in 81, and probably by the time I was 8 years old, I was watching the WrestleMania 4 video cassette on repeat, like weekly, from the local videotape store. And, it was like Hulk Hogan. I had the WWF board game, the videotape game where you play it and they show you all the moments that you like, oh, I want to know more about this. Like, what's more context? It was insidious that they did that. I had the Hulk Hogan weight set with the little 3-pound weights and the hand curls. No. I was all in, man, all the way through the Sergeant Slaughter feud in LA that fizzled. My dad was in the armed forces, so it didn't sit right. And then I kind of got out of wrestling until I got back in college. And even then it was just all WWE, WWF, and anything outside of the US at that point didn't really exist, didn't really matter to me at that point. So I think it's really important because I think there's a lot of people that are more like me than are aware of the true history. So I really value it, and I value you that you're able to provide all this context about his time in territories that weren't in North America, because we know about the stuff that happened here. We know. If you want to get deep into it, you can find out all that you want to know about Hulk Hogan in the States. But it becomes a little precarious and a little troublesome to get the truth about what he was able to accomplish outside of the U.S. and pretty massive accomplishments to be the biggest star in perpetuity for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, and you're going to hear a lot of bullcrap, folks, about Hulk Hogan in the next couple of days. A lot of baloney.
Well,
the amount of baloney just about Rocky Johnson after his death, the amount of absolute trash lies you heard about Rocky Johnson, I can't fathom what we're going to get about Hulk Hogan.
We got the okie doke about his health this entire time. He had that surgery in May.
Yeah, except Bubba the Love Sponge knew.
Apparently. Bubba the Love Sponge was shouting it from the rooftops, and we can get into Bubba the Love Sponge another time.
No,
the history of Bubba the Love Sponge. This is all the most important person in Hulk Hogan's entire life appears to be Bubba the Love Sponge. If we really wanted to get into it, so
all that shit can be litigated elsewhere than here. We don't have to do
video cameras elsewhere. We'll get back to business, but
it was supposed to be a house show.
Oh man! Oh god! Man,
no
that's
cameras.
one way to
Supposed
keep it
be
in the
out show.
closet. Oh,
Point
man.
being, all right, look, we're getting off track with this stuff.
Yeah.
Hogan had a
Complicated,
God.
man. Complicated legacy.
Here's my favorite Hulk Hogan lie. And my God, the list. My God, the list. My favorite Hulk Hogan lie, Jeremy, was on some interview some point. He said that at one year, he wrestled more than 400 matches. You know why, Jeremy? Because he made so many trips to Japan and you gain a day when you do that he could wrestle 400 days in a year.
Yeah, he could wrestle twice on the travel days.
Forgetting apparently that when you go the other direction, that whole thing reverses itself. But according to him, he had 400 days in 1 year to wrestle because he was going to Japan so often. That's of all the Hulk Hogan lies, that's the Hulk Hoganist of the lies right there. And Jeremy has a question here, but he says, how did he get so big so fast, especially in Japan? And it's the most simple thing in the world, Jeremy. They put him over top guys. Yep. And that is it. When he would go into Memphis, he would smear everybody on the roster until he got to Jerry Lawler. And then he would beat the living crap out of Lawler for a couple of weeks before Lawler would vanquish him. He would mow down everybody in Georgia until he got to the very, very top star back when he was using the golden squeeze and he was Sterling Golden. When he would go to Alabama, for instance, for Ron Fuller and the Southeastern promotion, that was when he first wrestled Andre the Giant. The first Andre Hogan match happened like Dothan, Alabama, like this little small gym, because Ron Fuller realized, holy freaking crap, look at this dude. And back then, by the way, he had his chest hair shaved into a mushroom cloud like an atom bomb, which if you see photos of it, it's fantastic. Chest hair shaved to look like an atom bomb. So how do you get a guy over? You put him in with your top guys, and you put him over those top guys. The other thing about him in Japan, Jeremy, not only would he mow through guys like Fujinami and Choshu and Kengo Kimura, and those were main event guys, not named Antonio Inoki. And even then, Inoki didn't beat him for a year. He wrestled more in Japan. Some of the stuff's on New Japan World. You can go back. And I'm not trying to make him sound like he was Ric Flair or Lou Thez or Bret Hart or anybody else. But watch him. He hadn't boiled his act down the way he did in the U.S. later, and he wrestled Inoki. And it wasn't great. I mean, he wasn't a fantastic wrestler, but far more wrestling from Hulk Hogan in those matches than you would imagine, and then you would picture in your head in that stage.
I remember that. He was going to... Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, is the quintessential example of an immensely talented individual who throughout their entire life was motivated by entirely the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. He was a carny above all. In a business of carnies, he was a carny.
Yeah. Money mattered more than anything else to him, and I think while people will celebrate it, if you begin to look into the stories among his family and his loved ones, I think there'll be more sadness than there will be celebration.
And Brad mentions this as a fan from the 80s. He was a big part of my fandom, even if I wasn't a fan. Piper and Brett were his guys. That can be acknowledged at the same time we acknowledge he wasn't a good person.
The example of don't meet your heroes.
Yeah. And Colin said wrestling fans should be able to separate the man and the Hulk Hogan persona. It's the art versus the artist, right? I mean, like a lot of artists. Pablo Picasso wasn't a great dude either. And so, it's still at the same time. Maria Graciela Sias is here. Hello. And she said, wrestling isn't what it is without Hulk Hogan. And it's true.
It's true. The personal threshold scenario. Everyone has a different threshold for what they find acceptable and what they choose to walk away from. And no one gets to judge anyone else for that. Mm-hmm. Unless it's really bad. If it's really bad, I'm judging you. But most of the time, it's pretty reasonable and like, okay. And then you never think about it again because it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you.
Yeah, and just kind of became a con man too for a lot of this stuff and a lot of his businesses and things. It's an ignominious end to a pretty and it's sad too, Jeremy. If you think about it, his last appearance was him just absolutely booed out of the building, and not in a heel way, in a go away way. In WWE, when he went out there with Jimmy Hart and he tried to be a babyface, waving the American flag, wearing the red and yellow, and they booed him out of that building. And
No,
we all heard the tape. We heard what he said on the tape. You can't blame anybody for it. It's just a sad way for that to end.
That is a lifetime of calling the quote.
Yeah. That's exactly true. Oh gosh. And Fernando Zayas is here. I'm glad to see you, Fernando. He says, I'm a wrestling fan thanks to Hulk Hogan. A lot of people are. And it's funny that a lot of people that are into the minutia of wrestling and love great workers and know the history of it and all that, they got there because Hogan was bigger than life and exciting and brought them in the door. A lot of them.
The liner notes of history are paved with ugly things hidden in order to make a more palatable truth about how we got to where we are today.
He was never my favorite guy. I liked him. I just told you about how, it was like a real life superhero. I always had other guys I liked a little bit more. I would say Dynamite Kid was my first favorite wrestler. Wasn't a great guy either. And then that kind of transitioned over to Bret Hart and into things later. I actually watched wrestling a long time before I picked a favorite guy, but Hogan was ever present. I guess what I'm saying is he was the biggest babyface star in the industry the day I walked into the business. And he has been a monster figure either in it or lurking over it ever since, my entire 42-year run of watching this.
The moment that broke my heart the most was when I was at the WWE Superstore in New Orleans during WrestleMania 30. And they had Hulk Hogan shirts, and they had like the Hulkamania, and they had like Mega Power shirts. And I just looked at him. I thought, I would be embarrassed to wear this.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, Hulk Hogan, 71, and brace yourselves for whatever you're about to hear from WWE on this one.
Hope it was fair. Hope it was honest. Hope it was real. Hulk Hogan, you made an impact.
All right, so let's get to the G1 Climax tournament. Can you imagine that here we are, the first week of the G1, we're a half hour.
And we're talking about Hulk Hogan. Cool, awesome,
amazing. All right, so we have had 4 shows. Everybody has had 3 block matches, and do we want to just do the thing where we start with A block and then look at the leaders and then work our way down, Jeremy? I think that's probably the smartest way to do it. Too many matches for us to just go over each show individually.
I wrote notes for every match, but we could do whatever you want, man.
Yeah, let's
30 minutes out of this talking about the biggest star in all pro wrestling. So.
Let's take a look at the A block standings first. Let's just see where we are here after 3 block matches from each. So the first 2 were in Sapporo, and they had all block matches on Saturday and Sunday, and then we have had a show since that involved preview tags and A block matches, another one with preview tags and B block matches.
You want to go down the line and just talk about each guy and what
let's start with the 4 points. So A block is everybody either has 4 points or 2 points. No one is undefeated. No one is without a victory. And so, in fact, no one in this tournament is at 0.
Yes, I thought one person.
Is somebody at 0? Who's on 0?
Gabe Kidd.
Gabe Kidd is. Yep, sure is. Never mind. We'll get to that. Pardon me. Yep, You're sure right. Okay, we'll get to that. All right. So,
thanks, bud.
The other thing I was a little bit afraid of, Jeremy, is this has been good in the ring. The G1's been pretty good in the ring. Attendance is not. So they were in Sapporo, where they'd had, in 2023 for the G1, they had 3,100 fans. This time they were down to 2,579 and 2,520. So 2 years ago, 3,100 the first night, about 2,500 the second night. So they were down at the second night totals for both nights this time. They didn't get the 3,000 bump. So a little shaky there. But we predicted that because, lack of Naito and maybe everybody in a bit of a malaise about the storyline. But Jeremy's saying G1 has been great so far. Maria is saying, I'm loving the G1. Frankly, it's been pretty dang good.
There's a lot to like.
Yeah, there really is. So let's talk about the leaders on this one. So the sentimental guy, we're going to go with the first 4-pointer out of Block A is Taichi. And what a run Taichi is on, Jeremy. Let's talk about his match.
I was telling you, they're booking him right in the Goto spot.
He has probably been the most interesting story so far in this block, certainly. He started off with a loss in the main event of Sapporo on night 1 to Tanahashi. This is a really good match. And both did an excellent job of making the match dramatic without doing too much until the end. And then the match shifted gears, and it got very good. But it changed tone where it got very urgent. There were multiple high fly flows to win it for Tanahashi, and you could tell that there were a lot of high fly flows when you watched Tanahashi's other matches in the week. But it was heartbreak once again for Taichi in Sapporo main events. He has a tendency to do that to his home fans. He's lost some big title matches in main events in Sapporo. He likes to take everybody to the edge and then fall just a little bit short. The second night, though, because Gabe Kidd was injured, and we'll get to all that, of course, but Kidd could not wrestle Zack Sabre Jr., so that match was a forfeit. On night 2, Taichi versus Yuya Uemura in the Just Four Guys derby was put in the main event spot. Again, Taichi's from Sapporo, so this works. They had another great match. Uemura took a kick to the head and didn't move for, I counted, Jeremy, 1 minute and 40 seconds. That was the one point here that kind of stretched credulity a little bit, because you're wondering, like, why wouldn't Red Shoes stop this if he's almost 2 minutes without budging? And I think that was one where Uemura might have oversold a little bit. But once he got up, the fans were into it. Taichi worked him over so much that Uemura hit the deadbolt suplex, but couldn't get the bridge because he was beaten. He was too beaten up to get the bridge. Uemura is a terrific seller, Jeremy. He really sells well, and it's another thing that's going to make him a top babyface someday. And when Taichi hit Black Mephisto, the fans absolutely loved it. So 2 main events in Sapporo, 2 really good matches, a 1-1 record. What are your impressions of Taichi's weekend here? Slips into the tournament at the very last second, and then main events twice to renown all the way around. I think everybody liked his performances.
So I don't know if anyone caught this, but I managed to slip in a plug for this show on Wrestling Observer Live over the last couple of days. And one of the things that I slipped as one of the notes for the G1 was that I thought that Taichi was the MVP of the tournament so far because of his stature within New Japan and the kind of matches that he's been having. He was setting the bar for a lot of the younger talent and the people that hadn't been there as long. And given the opportunity and his wherewithal, I thought that he had been delivering at a top level. I think Takeshita may be having slightly better matches on the whole, but Takeshita is still a part-timer, and you are watching homegrown, natural, old-fashioned New Japan wrestlers just showing you how it's done, and Taichi's leading the way in this G1 so far. We gone back and forth about whether he was a Goto proxy or whether this was the plan the entire time, and they're simply doing what they're going to do with him. And we'll find out pretty soon. But right now, I'm feeling pretty much like this is what Goto was supposed to be booked to do in this tournament, and they simply just put Taichi in there because there's a lot of whims there that if it were Goto and you had him in that same spot, he might end up with the same amount of points. That's something we're going to debate down the line for a while. As it is, I think Taichi's done a fantastic job.
On night 3, he faced David Finlay, and this was another really good match. Taichi kicked out of the overkill. That got the crowd going.
Yeah, it did.
I don't know if the fans really believed he was going to win that one, but he ended up hitting a huge super kick that pretty much looked like he knocked his jaw into the third row. And then he hit Black Mephisto to win. And again, the fans loved it. So Taichi, the club, in with 4 points right now in Block A, and the sentimental favorite.
He's got Evil and Sonata 1 and 2 next up for his matches. So the work rate quality matches might be going out the window. Taichi and Evil might have a little bit of sauce on it. It's possible. They've been around a while and they might lay it into it just a little bit. But I think him having the Cinderella story at the beginning is because he's probably not going to make it into the post-block play. This is a very stacked side.
Yeah, Crash TV 83 says stars are lining for Taichi 2 main events in a row. Let him shine on. NJPW bookers that don't exist. Let's see. He also just says Goto plus Destiny plus the gods. Only the thumbs on the scales can stop Taichi now.
Crash TV's on a roll today.
It is. And it's been a really strong one. Another guy that has 4 points, though, is Bolton Oleg. Bolton Oleg rocking on 4. Not as dramatic as Taichi right there, but he also began his tournament with a loss, and that one was to Yue Mura when Yuya managed to wriggle out of the kamikaze and hit a deadbolt on the big man. Hit the deadbolt with the bridge on the big guy, which really has more to do with Bolton being a pretty impressive athlete as it does Uemura. He got over the top there on it. Bolton did get on the board against Oiwa on night 2 in a match that was a bit of a mess in the beginning. Night 2, the first half of night 2 was a struggle.
And that was a sloppy meat match.
Yeah. The first 3 matches, so we had the news that Gabe was out, not of the tournament so far still, but he had to forfeit against Zack Sabre Jr., so you didn't get the main event. You
okay.
did get,
Let me peel back the curtain real quick. What point during that show did you text me about the state of that show?
It was right after this match where I just said, this is a struggle, because the first 3 matches on this show were not good. And everyone seemed very much off their game. It picked up later as you got closer to the main events. But the first half of night 2 was kind of a slog.
There were a few in there that were like, fun.
Yeah. And this one just looked like they had 2 left feet going. They just couldn't get on the same page there. But they pulled it together a little bit. They got the finish. Press slam. He press slammed Oiwa and then put him in a kamikaze. Then he got a win over Tanahashi. I'm talking about Bolton here. The fans were in favor of Tana. They were cheering for Tanahashi, but they didn't boo Oleg. He caught Tanahashi on an aces high attempt, just caught him out of midair, hoisted him up on his shoulders, kamikaze. It wasn't long, but it was fine, and it worked out well. So Bolton, he's also in the clubhouse, 2 wins and a loss, 4 points.
He is fully developed, I feel like. Like, I'm watching him in this tournament, and he's not needing help. And I would actually go so far as to say that he carried Tanahashi through that match more than Tanahashi did to him. And that wasn't true a year ago.
Yeah.
His growth in leaps and bounds is really apparent in this tournament.
Tanahashi went all out in that match against Taichi and seems to have just wrecked his knees. I mean, just too many too many bumps.
It may be the only main event he's closing with the microphone until he figured he was going to give people a show.
Now Walker, of course, had Chris Charlton with him in Sapporo. Brad did mention something that I think we're going to bring up. We're going to talk about Drilla Maloney, of course. He's in the tournament. He's having a great tournament. But he was really good on commentary with Walker when he sat in there. And there was a situation with referee Marty Asami that we're going to mention later.
I need to know your opinion when we get there, because was it great or was it terrible? Was it both? We're going to talk about it.
I have to wait to find out. And Crash says, bigging up Bolton now, advance of Aaron Wolf's Gala Buffet debut.
They are setting the table for that one. 1,000%.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they absolutely are. And should. It's a natural.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so after that, who else has 4 points? Yota Tsuji has 4 points. So we have Yota. He defeated Sonata on night 1 when Sonata tried a deadfall and Tsuji cartwheeled out of it. That was kind of cool. Then Sonata missed a moonsault. Tsuji hit a gene blast, and he got his first 2 points. Evil got him back, though, for House of Torture on night 2. Daiki Nagai helped out Tsuji. When Dick Togo interfered, he bounced off the ropes, and Nagai tripped him. So Nagai starting to carry a little water in the unaffiliated faction that's not a faction. Now, this is the one House of Torture thing, Jeremy, that I thought was really, really stupid over this past week. So Fale and Dick Togo are out with Evil at every match. So you got Fale and Togo out there.
But they're not out with any other guys, just Evil.
No, and Sonata found that out the hard way in his match. Now, so Tsuji is outside the ring. They've been fighting in the aisle. I think it was Marty. It might have been Sakam. I don't think it was Sakamoto. It wasn't Kenesato. Anyway, the point is, the referee, it wasn't Red Shoes. Wasn't high enough on the card for Red Shoes.
No, it was the 8th match. Red Shoes took the 9th, the 2 last matches.
All right, so Tsuji's trying to get back in the ring. Tsuji's trying to get back in the ring. Both Dick Togo and Don Fale, not Bad Luck anymore, Don Fale, are playing defense in the aisle, like trying to keep him, as if you're trying to play hotbox or something like that, trying to keep him out of the ring. Now, Marty is watching this happen, and he's counting. Why in the hell, Jeremy, when there are 2 million reasons why these New Japan referees randomly stop 20 counts in ways that don't. So he's watching two people that are not in the match. He's not knocked down. Marty's not, he didn't do the thing where he gets pulled out of the ring and somehow that 4-foot fall kills him for 20 minutes. We would get that later. But here he is standing there like an idiot, looking at two men not in the match, try to physically restrain a guy from coming, and he's got 14, 15, 16. What the hell? This is why I hate this house torture crap. It's so stupid. None of it makes sense. Anyway.
That one bounced right off of me. I'm sorry it affected you.
He avoids the two guys and he gets back in the ring. It's dumb. And then anyway, he hits an unprotected corner. Evil hit a neck breaker and we're done with it. It was not good. It was not good at all.
I have a feeling this is the match they're going to run back in post-block play.
Yeah, and he Tsuji defeated Uemura on night 3, and this was in Sendai. Tsuji was in the blue again. He's been wearing blue lately. Uemura in red. You know, you got this the sun and the moon. They can't shine at the same time. These two work very well together. And the note I had on this match, Jeremy, is they seem to understand that it's important not only that they have a rivalry, but it's important to both of them that it's a really, really good match every time and a little bit different. They seem to understand that you and I are going to be doing this in important spots for the next several years, and we need to make these matches count. I think there is a sense of urgency with that. They're like, this needs to be a top rivalry, and it needs to be good every time. They're very motivated with that. He speared Uemura out of the air on a body press attempt. That looked really good. Gene Blast again. Really good match. These two do work well together. And so, again, Tsuji, with the exception of the evil crap, pretty solid first week.
Yeah, I mean, Yota Tsuji and you got that main event on night 3, which was pretty awesome for both of them. If you remember last year, Yuya Uemura won the match in the G1 against Yota Tsuji, but busted his elbow and was out until something like February. Now Yota Tsuji won this match, but Yuya's healthy, so I'll take that one in the long run. And Yota Tsuji feels like one of the two guys that's going to win this tournament. It's just the booking and everything, and they can't wait past Wrestle Kingdom to make the guy, at least for the short term. And so this G1 is about making the guy, it feels like.
He's still my pick so far, yeah.
Yeah, him or Takeshita, just like those are the two right now.
I certainly didn't do anything that dissuade me from either one of them.
Right? So it's just Yota Tsuji feels special. I think the blue suits him far better than the red. I don't know why, but I think the red is indicative of like the LIJ and him being a second in there, but the blue feels like him and like his identity, and I like that on him. I don't have much more other than like Yota Tsuji is one of the top guys. I feel like they're holding back on him having his blowaway matches because they're saving them, because he hasn't had blowaway matches. He hasn't had like that moment in anything where it's just like, holy crap. The Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura match was good, but there are 3 or 4 matches already that have overshadowed it. You know what I mean? Like, in my mind. So I am waiting for that Yota Tsuji holy crap match that I know is coming, but we haven't had yet.
Ryohei Oiwa has 4 points. He defeated David Finlay in an upset that we predicted right here on this show. We figured that was coming right here. You heard it. And he went through the barricade, by the way. There was a spot here. This is what I was wanted to mention. Leaning back against the barricade, and he crashed through it. There was something where he smashed into the barricade, but the gate opened. I think he got whipped into the barricade, but he hit halfway on the gate and halfway not on the gate, and the gate opened, and ouch. That's like the worst thing that could happen, because that edge of the barricade kind of dug into his lower back. That had to be incredibly painful. Looked like it was incredibly painful. But he seemed to be okay right there, but that looked nasty. Oiwa ended up getting a doctor bomb. They went in and out of their big moves, threatening an overkill in the grip and all that. And then finally, Oiwa hit the grip and beat David Finlay and got the upset win on night 1. He did lose to Bolton on night 2. We talked about that. Press slam into the kamikaze in a match that was a bit of a mess. But then he beat Callum Newman on night 3. Both of them were motivated, put on a pretty good show right there, and hit a grip to win what was a pretty good match. So I'm still standing by that. I don't think Oiwa is 2025 isn't his year. Maybe next year is. But just turning in pretty good matches all the way through. And even the Bolton one that started badly, they figured it out.
They righted the ship. Ryohei Oiwa, it's still a rookie campaign. This is his first G1, and there are a lot of guys that have put in the time and progressed beyond him, and he's got a bright future. But even his role is like the meatiest of those young guys is now in question based off of some of the other people that are around there. So we're going to have to figure out an identity for Ryohei Oiwa soon. It feels like TMDK is slowly turning heel. So I'm curious about if we just have a real big, devastating, meaty guy on the heel side that just comes in and wrecks people. And I'd like to see that if the direction with Ryohei is like what he's doing isn't working and he is just going to go along and just be the heavy for the group.
Yeah, let's see. Jeremy mentioned here, he says Walker has been bad right now. I don't know what his commentary is usually good. I don't know. I've been pretty harsh on Walker on this show before. I think there's a big difference when Chris Charlton can carry him. And Chris absolutely carried him those first 2 nights at Sapper like he usually does. It's more of a struggle with Walker when he has to work with one of the wrestlers. Maloney did a good job. Henare, by the way, is great on commentary to the point that I think he has a future in it. If he keeps getting hurt, the poor dude. I'm rooting for him though, because I like him in the ring, but just saying, when he has Chris to carry him, he's a hell of a lot better. But it can be a struggle sometimes when he doesn't. And we're going to get Chris when they're in the Tokyo area, and then a lot of the weekends. I think we're going to hear Chris quite a bit as the tournament goes on, thankfully. And then the other person on 4 points is Evil. Oh, and a quick comment here from Crash TV before we move on. I prefer Yuya out of him and Tsuji. Okay, fair enough. I was trying to put my finger on what it is about Tsuji for me. Maybe just too heavy on random dude at cosplay convention presentation. Okay, well, maybe the new blue outfit will kind of help with some of that. Maybe it works for some, but
there's an identity crisis a little bit with Yuya, with Yoda that I get that Crash TV is saying. Whereas with like Yuya, he's the model of like Ricky Steamboat. Like there's just that pure high flying babyface factor. Like, what he is. Whereas like you've got like that air of mystery, almost like Gambit from the X-Men kind of like, he's got that mystique. He's a little charming. He's a little bit of a rogue and he can kick your butt kind of thing. But but not knowing anything about him makes it hard to like connect with him.
Uemura gives off real Tanahashi-esque vibes. This is the guy that'll take pictures with your kids and hug everybody,
hold the baby, all the stuff.
Tsuji comes off like the more enigmatic Nakamura of the bunch. So that's to me is kind of how it goes. The question is there a Shibata in there? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't.
Like you're gonna get like iconography with Tsuji in the future with the hat down and the smile underneath. It's like you're gonna get those kind of imagery with him where it's like the man of mystery, the man with the charming smile, the man under the hat. That's what they're going with Tsuji, because he's not the put him out in front, like hang out, take pictures with the family and be that guy. He can be an ace, not the face.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to Evil here. Brad has the comment of the week on it already. So here we go. Evil defeated Callum Newman on night 1, ref bump shenanigans, tap from the sharpshooter. Like I said, Fale and Togo are interfering pretty freely in his stuff. We mentioned the Tsuji victory earlier. His most interesting match was against Sonata. Fale and Togo were out with Evil, like I mentioned. Evil jump started it, and there was no hesitation. Like Fale and Togo were out there beating on Sonata on the outside of the ring. There's just no ambiguity here. There was no finger poke of doom. Evil was just going to cheat and beat his former tag partner here.
They're going to cheat against each other.
Oh, yeah. And then we had this. So referee's in the ring, gets yanked out, and it's Yoshinobu Kanemaru. And of course, Marty takes a 4-foot fall and he's dead for 10 minutes. He takes the shirt off of poor Marty, puts it on, and hops in the ring like he is going to be an objective referee here. And then it goes on for a few minutes until the moment when he's about to count a pin, and Marty yanks him out by the ankle, and it's Kanemaru that splatters, and Marty got one of the biggest pops of the damn night. And he pulled the shirt back on. By the way, Marty has been hitting the weight room. Not in bad shape.
No kidding.
He's not cut. He's not in bad shape. And then it all led to Sonata getting a flash pin in a match that, frankly, was more entertaining than it ever should have been. And Brad hit it right here on the head. He said, Evil versus Sonata was the trauma movie match of the G1. It wasn't meant to be good, and it wasn't, but it was entertaining trash. And that might be the perfect way to describe this match. Trauma movie, Jeremy. It's Toxic Avenger.
Here's what I wrote in my notes for this match. And tell me if I'm wrong, okay? Sonata defeat Evil. House of Torture BS until Kanemaru put on a referee shirt and called it down the middle. Then Marty Asami beat Kanemaru's ass, took back his shirt, and then we got a roll win by Sonata.
And Kanemaru is he's not in this tournament, but he's having an interesting one between the interference and then in a match earlier, he brought the whiskey back to Toru Yano. They were on opposite sides of a match, and people forget this. Toru Yano, when he was with the most violent players, he used to swig whiskey and blow whiskey mist up in the air before his matches too. Like his whole thing was that he was a hard drinking, hard brawling guy when they were fighting. He was kind of a modern day Ueda. I mentioned him earlier with the Hulk Hogan stuff. Just a chaos demon, but a violent one back in the day. And I say he's since turned babyface and things. But even Yano managed, took a big swig of whiskey for old time's sake and spit it in his face. And a USVA guy says, I adored Evil and Sonata. Quite a few House of Torture naysayers that reluctantly stated they enjoyed it. It just happened to me.
It could have been garbage, and it was garbage, but it was really good garbage.
Yeah, and Crash TV is just wondering, is Tsuji really comfortable? I think he's getting there. I think he's getting there. We'll give him time.
I mean, okay, let's think about this with Tsuji. We'll double back to everything I was saying. He wasn't, the plan wasn't for Naito to leave. The plan wasn't for Tsuji to be put in, almost a front and center position. There were different plans in motion. And so a lot of things have escalated. This might have already been the plan, but we're taking a different route. And with Naito being gone, there's a lot more pressure on him to be that role that Naito had, even though he can never be Naito, right? Yeah. There was a role that Naito had within the company, and now that's Tsuji's role, for better or for worse.
And Colin, I'm going to get to your question here in a second. I think I have an answer here in a little bit. Now, those are the 4 pointers. So the rest of the folks are on 2. Now, we've already talked about most of the matches, so we'll get through this fairly quickly. Yuya Uemura is on 2 points. He's had a good tournament. I think his results are going to turn around. He had that cool win over Bolton on night 1. Night 2 was the great match with Taichi. Tsuji on night 3. His losses were really good matches with men he has heavy emotional ties with, either as friends or enemies. And but he's been wrestling very, very well, and I think he's going to start moving up the rankings as this one goes on.
Yeah, he's a dark horse to make it into the next round. I still don't think he's one of the final 3, just on the strength of schedule and everything. But the campaign he's making is that he is not going to be someone that's going to be losing a whole lot of matches in G1s going forward.
Yeah, and also Crash TV mentions it ended with a big group hug for Sonata and Evil, where they all just said, "Oh, well, you got me. There you go." But they've been kind of teasing Sonata a bit on the fence on that Sonata is a bit on the fence on commentary, and there's a potential turn in the books from Crash TV.
That's all he does. He leaves groups. He went from what? LIJ to Just Five Guys to Bullet Club to House of Torture in the span of a year.
Yeah, and Colin is asking, why are they doing tags now instead of 10 straight G1 matches? Well, the idea was to kick off the tournament with a bang, just 2 straight tournament matches, all tournament matches shows in Sapporo. But it goes back to what they've reverted to in the past, where they'll kind of kick off with tournament matches, and then they start doing the preview. It also helps that it stretches the G1 out. So you get more.
One day is a hard one.
You get more of a tour out of it when you, and it gives guys a little bit of a rest because they can be in a tag and let their other faction mates kind of carry the freight a little bit in the preview. You get a little bit of rest, and also you just get more shows out of it. Now, is that the right decision? That is something that we can talk about here because we mentioned the attendance in Sapporo. Sendai is not a normal G1 stop. That's just not it's unusual for them to be there. Hadn't been since 2015. But they had 1,714 in Sendai. Now that's up from Road 2 shows, which is what Sendai usually gets, the Road 2 shows. They did get the 2022 Tag League and Junior Tag League finals, and they drew 2,000. They had over 2,000 for that one, only 1,700 for this one. But that was the Tag League and Junior Tag League finals with a never open weight title match, Carl Anderson and Hikuleo underneath that one. By the way, that was Bishamon beating Aussie Open in the finals. And then Yo and Leo Rush beat Ace Austin and Chris Bay. That was that match. And then Niigata. That was the show on Wednesday. 1,547. Yuck. That's a terrible number. They had the New Japan Cup final, and it drew 3,721. Now, that's the New Japan Cup finals, right? But last year, the G1 came through Niigata, and with Naito versus Great Okan on top, they drew 3,000 for the G1. This year, 1,500. Cut in half. Ouch. So
not without Naito, huh?
I mean, they're not without Naito, and maybe you just fans just aren't particularly excited. But right now, we haven't seen good attendance so far. Now, we're going 2 nights in the Oda Ward Gymnasium in Tokyo. That's a big room. Maybe Cork and Hall would have been a better idea. We'll see what the numbers look like. If you draw more than 2,000, you made the right call, right? Because that's about all that Korakuen can hold. So we'll see how it goes this weekend. But so far, not so good. Yeah. Now. The other 2 pointers. We got to get to the other 2 pointers here.
Tanahashi, do we want to talk about him at all?
Yeah, he beat Taichi in that main event, but then lost to Newman on night 2. Princess Curse finish. That was just okay. Again, Tanahashi wasn't moving very well after doing all that against Taichi. Then he lost to Bolton, after which nothing but gracious love fest between the two afterwards towards Bolton. So this is going to be what we talked about, Jeremy. He's going to get a couple of wins. But a lot of this is going to be putting over guys that are going to be stars moving forward.
I know there's a sentiment, and I know there's a vibe that, let's give Tanahashi a little bit of love on his last G1, maybe put him in the post-block play. No, I'm sorry. Enjoy the run he's having, enjoy the matches, but those spots need to be for the next. Yeah, he needs 2 more wins to get 100.
Yeah, he has 98 G1 victories. That's incredible, Jeremy. He has 98 victories in the G1 Climax. That's just amazing. He needs 2 more to get there. Will he get them? I think it's going to – remember, he's wrestling Evil on the very last night of the tournament. What if he's on 99 wins and we need someone to save us from Evil messing up this tournament? Who's our hero?
I can't – they've done Evil and Tanahashi with Tanahashi going over already. They did it for Wrestle Kingdom this year.
I know.
I would be much more inclined that he gets that 100th win against Sonata the day before.
And they put heat on him with the Evil thing.
And then it's can he keep the momentum up? He can get the 100, and then it's Evil. You're watching Evil. You have eyes. You have the same eyes that I do. Evil was put in the ring with David Finlay and Yota Tsuji earlier this year, teasing that those were 3 guys that are going to be at the top, and they haven't really run back the Evil Tsuji consequences of that. So there has to be a big moment there. I feel like Tanahashi is there to pass the reins on it. It's not me anymore. It's going to be one of you guys that has to carry the banner.
And not to get too much into the fantasy booking thing, but if you look at who he has left, he could get a flash pin on Oiwa with an inside cradle, beat Sonata, and then get heat on him. That's the 100. And then he could get heat on him with the Evil match that they can bring back later. That's how they could play this.
The Uemura match is a virtual certainty that Uemura is winning that based off.
I hope so. God, that
match.
Yeah.
Well, they had the Dominion match and Tana won. So
I know. Yeah,
you're turning it right back around, and you're giving them a reason. So Uemura can't be the guy. You could surprise with Tsuji. I feel like Sonata is definitely an option. Like one of them. And you could even do Finlay. Like you could have him like get one over on Finlay. It's not going to affect tiebreakers.
Yeah, maybe. I mean? Finlay could use some points though, but
no, absolutely. And let's talk about him now.
Yeah, we'll talk about him. Jerry, is it the heat effect with attendance? I don't know. More than one person mentioned how hot it was in those buildings.
No, how's the torture effect?
But they didn't know it was going to be that hot for advance tickets. Let's just say that. People just did not buy advance tickets for this thing, or any others for that matter. Moving on, Finlay. He had the loss to Oiwa. Then he beat Sonata. He did beat Sonata there, and he had a loss to Taichi. Similar to Uemura, I expect Finlay to have a much stronger second half of this tournament. I think we're going to see a Finlay surge. And and the Sonata, he's been working harder. He doesn't have the interference that Evil does. They're just not doing it in his matches. He got the win over Evil in the match we mentioned earlier. Losses then to Finlay and Tsuji. The Tsuji match was quick, but some had to be with 10 matches on the show. And so overall, I think Sonata, first of all, the disco ball outfit is fantastic. And beyond that, I think he has been trying. And we can't always say that about him.
Sonata?
Yeah.
Did you know that he hurt his neck in that Wrestle Kingdom match against Naito? And it wasn't the arm that atrophied, it was the rest of his body, and his arm wasn't able to heal from it. So apparently, like, that was little reported, but it turned out that that's why we've gotten the Sonata that we have, is because of injuries from his title run, which changes the color on how we've discussed and everything, because he basically gave up his entire body for the company, and now he's simply doing what he can to contribute and be a part of the promotion, even though he's not able to go forward with that. So there's that with him. And with Finlay, it's like low-key backbone of the tournament. It's like he's been having these really great matches every night. That match with Taichi, where he ate the fall against the Black Mephisto. That was a fantastic match with all the groundwork laid from the history of David Finlay just feeling like the guy that always pulls one out with the win. And so Taichi just getting one here just felt special because of the way that Finlay has cultivated his character and made you feel about him. So just wanted to give him a little bit of credit on that one.
There you go. Crash TV mentions that student ticket prices are cheap, about $15, as it turns out. So he says, so next time I go to Japan, I'm cosplaying as a student.
Right, I have my university card because my wife works here, so maybe I'll just show my university card and I'll get tickets that way.
That should work. All right. So that is there anybody else from there? I think that was about that was it for Newman? Callum Newman. Well, yeah, he lost to Evil. He got the win over to Tanahashi, and that has to be a big moment for Callum Newman to get a win over Hiroshi Tanahashi there. Unfortunately, Tanahashi couldn't do a whole lot in the match. Like I said, the hangover from the Taichi match. And then he did a job for Oiwa in there. When he's in with an opponent who wants to work and can have great matches, like Oiwa, it was an excellent match. Oiwa versus Newman was really, really good. He was stuck with, the Evil shenanigans in the first night. Tanahashi, who had given his all against Taichi and couldn't really do it, was pretty stiff. And I don't mean that in a hitting hard way, but I mean his body was literally not moving well against Newman. But when he got in there with Oiwa, he had a good one. So now that Tanahashi and Evil are done, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more really good Callum Newman matches going forward.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that at all. I think he's got a lot. Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good opportunity to do that. Callum Newman is just the guy in this tournament, and his role is pretty much unclear at this point. He's probably going to be a spoiler for somebody here and there, but so far, like you said in his mission statement, he's there to make an impact, not to win. And I'm not sure that's the right mission statement, but here we are with him.
We go on to the B block, and we have a singular leader in the B block, and look who it is, Jeremy. It is our friend, the headhunter, YOSHI-HASHI. He kicked off the tournament with a win over Shingo Takagi, a terrific match, a crucifix bomb. There weren't a lot of long matches. Again, they were doing 10 tournament matches the first 2 nights, so they couldn't really stretch out like they will other nights. But that one was terrific. That crucifix bomb is a move he has gotten over because he wins with it a lot. The fans believe in it, so when he hits it, there's this big gasp right there. But the match against Shingo was crisp. It was worked hard, got the fans into it, and he actually scored the first 2 points of the tournament with that one. That was the very first G1 match this year. He defeated Ren Narita on night 2. Very quick, but it was good. Stopped a low blow and tied up Narita into a pin, and 2 wins under 7 minutes. So getting his points without damage. Night 4, he had to work harder against Drilla Maloney. Really good again. Stiff, hard-hitting match. But the fans were right there with it. They love Yoshi, and he's definitely getting some of that Goto rub. And he got karma for the win. The only man in the tournament with 6 points.
It's a much better match than what people assumed that YOSHI-HASHI and Drilla were going to have in 2025. That's for damn sure. And nobody predicted YOSHI-HASHI was going to be running the table with 3 wins right out the gate. It was great booking from New Japan. Everything makes perfect sense. That 5-minute surprise upset in the first day with Shingo Takagi totally caught me by surprise. I don't see YOSHI-HASHI making it through. There's a strength of schedule issue here. Takeshita, Zack Sabre Jr. Might be taking a loss with somebody else if Gabe Kidd can't move forward. But it's just one of those. I like that they're giving respect and deference to the older generation of New Japan wrestlers as they're bringing the younger guys from the come up, because it's not loaded with a bunch of the older generation. You got 1 or 2 guys from each block, and they're showing dominance. And we're taking it from there. I just think it's subtly clever booking.
Shota Umino has 4 points. And he has had he's had an interesting one. He defeated El Phantasmo on night 1. That match was all ELP early, but Umino rallied, and his only real sustained offense ended with the second chapter and a victory. And I wrote in my notes at the time, Jeremy, that Shota selling by looking discouraged most of the match isn't going to get him over as a babyface. And it didn't do it for me, I guess. Night 2, he lost to Drilla Maloney. This was one of the early matches on the show after they found out they weren't getting their main event, after they found out Kidd is hurt, and the crowd just wasn't into it. I think that it was the Gabe Kidd announcement that took a lot of steam away early in this show. And there were a lot of slaps. They slapped each other a lot. Maloney ended up hitting a Drilla Killer to the win. He got to the Drilla Killer in a cool way. You should go back and look at how he got him up there for that. But the crowd, again, a little bit dead for it. And so at this point, I think Shota's kind of struggling. Then he wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. This match was so good. A lot of submissions, a lot of perseverance spots for Shota. He didn't look discouraged. He looked like he was driven to win. He showed good fire. He ended up hitting a lariat and a second chapter to win. That's the Shota we need more of. I don't quite understand why he just wanted to look defeated against Phantasmo. He just looked sad the whole time there, even though he was going to win in the end. Instead of looking like, this is hard, but I've got to suck it up and come back, he just looked like, oh, I'm a failure. I can't take this. That's kind of his body language in the ELP match. It's the Zack Sabre Jr. Shota that fans are going to get behind. That's the Shota we need.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to the Google Slides and look at the cover photo that I chose for this show. And then I want you to go Google Shota Umino Wrestle Kingdom 19. And I want you to look at Shota Umino's body between those two.
Oh, wait a minute. Say which one? Shota Umino what?
Shota Umino fighting Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Kingdom 19. Go look for a photo of that right now. And then take a look at New Japan World update for today, where Shota's holding his arm up, Red Shoes is holding up Shota. Oh my God, the amount of muscle mass that this man has gained in the last 6 months and has completely changed his body has blown my mind. He's probably gained about 25 pounds of just muscle, just all through his delts, his arms, and his upper body. And it made a huge difference, I think, in his confidence and his ability to go in the ring. He was dripping in sweat. He was absolutely huge. And this felt like a completely different Shota Umino that wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Kingdom 19. And I go so far as to say that I think this was a better match. You're muted. Still muted.
Brad mentions that in honor of Hogan, Shota is taking his vitamins and saying his prayers.
Yes, he is. Absolutely jacked. You saw the photos, though? You saw the comparison?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Just absolutely I like it. I like his identity as just being a big bruiser that can pull the moves off. I think there's a real future in that. There was something about Shota Umino 6 months ago, but if he's just going to pack on a bunch of mass and be able to just be a powerhouse that can pull submission moves and stuff like that, there's something to that, and I could get behind that.
Drilla Maloney is on 4 points. He defeated Great Okan on night 1. Okan tried the Cobra Claw, but Maloney got out of the Eliminator and hit the Drilla Killer on him. Drilla Killer is very over as a move,
yes.
And it's scary every time, but he hits it every time. Hopefully, he will continue to do so. He got Shota on night 2, and Crash TV, we're going to get to your comment very shortly. He got to Shota on night 2, then lost to YOSHI-HASHI on night 4. So, especially with Gabe out, this is a strong showing from Drilla. It would be a strong showing if Gabe isn't there. Even so, I mean, so it's not like, even if Gabe were having great matches on these shows, Drilla's performance would still be really, really good. Mm-hmm. He was terrific on commentary, but especially with the absence of Gabe, having him represent the War Dogs like this guy's talented as hell, Jeremy.
There's been a part of me that's been thinking that David Finlay and Gabe Kidd might not be around in February. Mm-hmm. And if there's a next man up, it sure does feel like Drilla Maloney. And he is auditioning, and it feels like they're kicking the tires to see exactly how far they can go with him and what they can do with him. He hurt his bicep last year, and unlike Sonata, it seems like it's just been fine, and he's recovered fully, even though he was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Champion at the time and all that stuff. So I think he's got a really bright future. I thought he was fantastic on commentary on night 3. He's eloquent, and he's able to communicate very well. And I think an opportunity on the mic, in addition to, more opportunities and more high profile matches, they've given him matches against Ishii. You're putting him into these big time situations and you're letting him succeed. It feels like they have confidence in him, and I think it's not unwarranted.
All right. And Crash TV says, Shota's infuriating. He walks down disinterested, handing out friendship bracelets to young fans. Both he and the fan are disinterested. Sometimes that's true. Then a handful of moments of sheer intensity in the ring and looks like the real deal. He does need to dial this in. He needs to dial this in.
He needs to have that match with Gabe Kidd. That match, I hope, happens in this G1, because I think that's the most important match for him in this entire tournament.
Brad says the Drilla is looking real good here. I'm excited for his future. I'd love to see New Japan stay behind him for a real push. He's earning it. All he ever does is exactly what they ask of him, and he tears it up. So he's doing everything he can do. His performances get better, and he just seems to be a guy who can have a good match with just about anybody, and that's a great utility player to have. And someday it could be more than that. Someday it could be more.
He also doesn't feel like another promotion will want him. Does that make any sense? He's not there yet.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, maybe so. Like he's not in a spot where somebody, if he takes over the faction after Finlay leaves, then I think we're going to have some.
He's not flashy, but he's got something.
Yeah. I mean, great body. He just looks great in there. Wrestles really well. Got a great finisher. I mean, somebody's going to notice that eventually.
You know who it kind of reminds me of? Pac.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, Pac is like a freakier athlete, just being able to do some of the flying and all that. But I see your point. Point a little bit.
There's something to a comp there that they fit the same mold, even though their strengths are slightly different.
Maloney does not want that Geordie accent, though. Does not want the Geordie accent.
I bet not.
Yeah, and Brad says, I'm a bit surprised not to see Clark Connors there, even for the tags. Yeah, it didn't fly Clark over. Yeah, did not bring him in.
Oh, with his girlfriend in the States, he's probably more inclined to hang out over there.
Ren Narita has 4 points, and this is probably the quietest 4 points of the tournament, I think, Jeremy. He's 2-1. He beat Zach on night one.
Did he?
Yeah. He hit the diving knee from the ropes. That he made that look really good. He's been doing a lot of wrestling before he uses the push-up bar. There's still some House of Torture in there. He cheats with the push-up bar, but he is wrestling before he gets to that. On night two, he had that quick loss we mentioned to YOSHI-HASHI. So that was, for storytelling purposes there. But on night four, he defeated Phantasmo with Togo interference. My notes on this one were points off for all the interference, but a good match. Like I said, he's wrestling before he gets to all that kind of stuff. I'm interested to see how far he goes in this tournament. I can't decide if they're getting behind him or this is going to be something that fizzles as it goes down late there. But overall, the quietest 4 points in the whole thing.
Ren Narita's infuriating because he's so freaking good, but he goes so long without showing you, and you forget. And then he has a match with Zack Sabre Jr. where you're just like, oh yeah, he's got that dog in him. He never lost it. There have been some matches he's had in the past against Juice Robinson and here and there, and I can't think of actually multiple matches against Zack Sabre Jr. The New Japan TV title match where it's like you're just in the ring with the guy is just like, oh, I can cut loose, I'm cutting loose, and this guy just when he's in there with the right guy, this guy's so good. And I can get on your side with the House of Torture, like holding this dude back kind of thing, because he has been wrestling as if he's not in the House of Torture. He's been wrestling like he's just a mean son of a bitch. Now,
if we had 4 quiet points from Ren Narita, we have 4 screaming loud points from Konosuke Takeshita. This guy is 3 for 3 in having really, really good matches. He defeated Gabe Kidd on the opening night in the match where Kidd got hurt. I suspected he got hurt, but I suspected that he got hurt because he started grabbing his knee when it was a move that had nothing to do with the knee. That's always a worrisome sign to me. If it had been a basement dropkick type of thing, I thought, well, maybe he's selling, but like, oh, there's no reason to grab your knee there unless you got to grab your knee. I was nervous right there. There was a really cool suplex spot where they went over the top rope and stayed in the suplex position all the way down to the floor and ended up in a brain buster. Just athletic, cool stuff going on. Ended up winning that match with a chicken wing choke. Moves on to night 2. He loses to El Phantasmo. Excellent match. These two get along. They're not only in the ring but out of the ring. They get along. Raging Fire only got 2. That was a big surprise spot. That's his finisher, and he lets Phantasmo kick out of it. Power drive knee for 2. Phantasmo showing the Shawn Michaels of resilience there, where the small guy just kicks out of everything, because CR2 and then a CR3 to win. This was the match of the night on night 2, which was a strong night, which was a strong night late. It helped save night 3 had the best block matches. Night 3 had the best block matches. Night 2, the second half, this was the match of the night that got the show back on track. Let me clarify what I was saying there. Got the show back on track a little bit. He wrestled Great-O-Khan on night 4. Another good match in a totally different way. This time, Raging Fire got the victory. And he and O'Khan worked really, really well together, and he got the victory here, got himself to 4 points. And he said something interesting in the comments, and that he and Great-O-Khan are a lot more alike than people think. And then he just kind of left it there. But he says, I don't want to team with you, though. I want to keep facing you. I thought that was interesting. So anyway, 2-1, brilliant matches. I'm all in on Takeshita. I feel like you are probably too.
Absolutely in on Takeshita. So I've been watching most of these on delay after the shows ended, but I had to get up really early for work yesterday, and I got to the parking lot of my work around 4:15 in the morning, and I'm like, yeah, just see what's happening on New Japan. And I had until like 4:35 to get going, and apparently matches just started and somebody's in the ring and Great O'Khan comes out. I'm like, oh, it's Takeshita versus Great O'Khan. Just have it in my phone as I'm just like, whatever. And it's like, this match is really good.
Yeah.
No, this match is very good. Oh no, I think Takeshita might have separated his shoulder. No, he's just selling immensely well because he is fantastic. Yeah. This was pure pro wrestling at its finest. Takeshita made Great O'Khan look like a god and then defeated him. I mean, that's how you're supposed to do it. And I haven't told you this, but somebody from AEW actually reached out to me and was talking about Takeshita. And they were talking about how TV Asahi values Takeshita. And they were and they're like, they see him as the next coming of Inoki.
Of Inoki. They use the word Inoki.
Like that. Yes. TV Asahi.
Not Okada. They're looking at Inoki.
No, they are looking at this guy like, we want everything that we can get of him. And Voices of Wrestling, Joe Lango last week after we finished, I saw that apparently it's been an open secret that Takeshita is set to win this entire G1 tournament. And so there is a whole conversation out here based off of stuff I've heard privately and stuff that people are talking about somewhat publicly that I really cannot rule out Takeshita winning this G1 tournament.
Yeah. Well, we had him in the finals.
Yeah,
I had, yeah.
He's so good.
He's really great.
He makes everyone in the ring look better than they are. And it was a conversation I had with somebody else, like, is Will Ospreay or Takeshita the best wrestler in the world? And it was a conversation about a 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how good that they are. And because Takeshita, you saw what I wrote in the title of this thing. Takeshita is better in Japan. Yes. Like he is promoted. He is primary focus, and he is not just a guy on the roster to tag and be in good matches while they focus on other guys in AEW. The quicker that they're able to make him a cornerstone with Aaron Wolf, Yota Tsuji, Bolton Oleg, all of these guys at a top level, that is how we get New Japan back to where it needs to be. And is it like a guarantee this is going to happen? No. But this is what needs to happen. And based off of, what these conversations were, AEW hugely aware of how important and how valuable Takeshita is in Japan. And they're accommodating it, but are they going to accommodate it if they become the secondary? You know what I mean? Like, this is precarious times. And Takeshita is a very interesting person to watch.
I've got a 1C to go with Will and Takeshita, by the way. I think right now, in his where he is in his career right now, I think Gunther's almost on that level. I think Gunther might be on that level.
Wow, that's a bold take.
I think he's great.
He is fantastic. I wasn't thinking about him at that level. I just don't know if he gets the opportunity to cut loose at the way the other two do to really show that and make that argument.
Well, no, not when you book with Goldberg. But, yeah, all right. So let's take a look at some of these comments here because we got some stuff on him here.
We're going late, guys. Don't worry. We're not ending in 3 minutes.
Crash says Drill is more trimmer than Pac. Pac has that lower center of gravity, though. Pac's got that ridiculous build. I don't know what lab they built that guy in.
He got the superhero genetics.
And he says, hence it makes him pull off all those insane high flyer spots, I'd wager. Fernando said that was an excellent match and moment, referring to the Takeshita stuff we were talking about earlier. And Crash says Takeshita just has that presence, too. Yeah, doesn't need to force an iota of it. I said he has that stop and stare thing that Okada had, that you just come to a stop and just look at this guy that's just, part of it's the height. He's taller than most. He's big. But he does have this confident air about him that you just realize that if you took somebody that didn't know anything about wrestling and said, which one's the star, I think they would point at Takeshita. And Brad says, if I built a pro wrestler from the ground up, it would be either Kyle Fletcher or Takeshita. Both are absolute studs right now. And Crash says, even just standing at the top of the ramp posing, total superfly Snuka. And Kyle, too, hard to get my head around that he's only 25. So, yeah, some good examples right there. And we look forward to more Takeshita, boy. There's a lot more good matches to come from this dude. And on 2 points now. We got to talk about the 2-pointers as we move on. El Phantasmo, another person that's working really hard, and I think will do better as the tournament goes on. But he lost to Shota on night 1. That was a match that didn't really get either guy over. Phantasmo lost it. Umino didn't really show up. We talked about that. It was weird. He did get the win in Takeshita in a great match, and then lost to Narita on night 4. We talked about that one a little bit earlier as well. So again, that one was a lot of shenanigans. That's low blows and double cross and the push-up bar getting involved and distracting things. So better things to come from Phantasmo. He's a really good wrestler. The Shota match was a bit of a struggle. Takeshita was great. He had to deal with shenanigans. So I think his best stuff's to come.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with any of that. I think they're trying to set the narrative of last year he was depressed, he lost a nut, a whole bunch of bad things happened, and this is kind of he's coming back with a different mindset, and his wrestling feels different. I feel like he's more aggressive and more proactive in the ring and telling a different kind of story. Perfect mid-card addition to the G1.
After that, we get into the weird section of the program. Here's what I mean. Next 2 guys we're talking about have not won a match in the ring, and they're 2 of the very best wrestlers in the world. Shingo Takagi lost to YOSHI-HASHI in that surprise on night 1 to the Crucifix Bomb. Lost to Great-O-Khan on night 2. That's the first time he's ever put Great-O-Khan over in a singles match. So there it was. Finally, O-Khan gets over the hump right there. Good match. That was a pretty darn good match. Like I said, O-Khan's having a strong tournament. So quick match with YOSHI-HASHI. Really good match with O-Khan. And then Shingo got the forfeit win over Gabe Kidd for night 4, so he didn't wrestle. The only 2 points he scored were by forfeit. Obviously, that's going to turn around, but weird week for Shingo Takagi.
This doesn't surprise me. I know that we were talking last week and did the preview. I saw Shingo as kind of an also-ran who's going to probably struggle out the gate. You know, like, we could talk about the G1 Sport of Pro Wrestling brackets and how terrible I'm doing because a bunch of these matches I got wrong. But generally, the spirit of where we're going feels right. You know, like Shingo Takagi is going to come out the gate and have a rough time and maybe not make it to the final 3 because of the strength of everyone else in this bracket. You know, like Shota Umino, like I'm feeling really good about Shota Umino as a pick to go to the post-block play based off of what I've seen so far. Shingo Takagi, I feel pretty good about him not going to post-block play. It just, we talked about this throughout the year. He's not cold, but he's not hot. And he is upper mid-card, feels more like a gatekeeper than he does feels like the focus of the promotion. And so his role here feels like putting over other people this year.
Well, we'll see how it goes. So the other person who has not won a match in the ring yet is the world heavyweight freaking champion, Zack Sabre Jr. So he lost to Ren Narita in the match we talked about, where there wasn't a whole lot of cheating. There was some shenanigans, but yeah, he got
as clean a House of Torture win if you're going to get in that match.
He got the forfeit win over Gabe on night 2. That was when they realized that Gabe wasn't going to be able to compete on night 2 in Sapporo. And then he lost to Shota. So the match against Shota, well, we mentioned it earlier, very, very good, putting him over. So they have the world champion behind the 8 ball. That's not crazy. They'll take a favorite, someone that's going to do well, and pile up some losses earlier. But it is weird that we've just gone a whole week of singles matches without the champ winning. So both Shingo and Zack lost all their in-ring matches so far. Don't count on that continuing. And when you look ahead to the week ahead, I think they're going to start to reckon some points up.
It's kind of silly. We're going to move on pretty quick from Zack Sabre Jr. because we're kind of taking it for granted. He's having great matches. Yes. He's the champion. He's losing. There's a story. The most interesting thing that I saw Zack Sabre Jr. do outside of the match was after he lost the Shota Umino match when he threw the water bag at Shota Umino's head.
Yeah. He said we're starting to see that Suzuki-gun tantrum throwing Zack again. Yeah,
there's definitely a petulance thing going on where it's like he's not getting the respect he feels he deserves, or he's not winning these matches that he should have. And that's where I'm getting this heel turn vibe thing going on. And maybe it continues after he loses the title, or maybe, I don't know. But I think watching him slowly melt down as he can't win these matches is pretty interesting.
The loudest 2 points in some ways goes to Great Okan. Okan had the win over Shingo, which was a big moment for Okan. I said hadn't beaten Shingo in a singles match. But then Okan lost to Maloney and to Takeshita. All three of these matches were pretty damn good. And Okan is just having a very, very strong tournament. Everyone they're in the ring with works well. And 2 points, I don't know if Okan is going to be scoring a heck of a lot of points in this tournament. But if they keep having matches like this, I think it's going to help their career because over and over again, Great Okan is showing up with some of the best matches of the night.
This is what a Great Okan does, though. And he has like 4 or 5 really good G1 matches, and then he's Great Okan for the rest of the year. And it's happened that way a few years now. And I always enjoy Great Okan, and I will never rule out him making to post block play based off of last year and such. But there's also just this kind of like, he's Great Okan, you know? And unless he's in the ring with the right guy, he's Great Okan, you know?
Well, I think Okan's talented.
I think he is too, but I think there are limitations that he does not seem to be the driving force in his own progression.
No, that's also possible. I mean, you hear things about how Okan turned down the leadership role of United Empire, not in a kayfabe way or, behind the scenes way. They went to Okan and Okan decided he didn't, that they didn't want it. So, well, it's interesting to see how this plays out. But I don't think anyone sees him moving on and sees Okan moving on into the playoffs. I think they're going to, probably lose some here, continuing, probably pick up a few more points. Yeah, he's at a certain level. He's a mid-card guy in this. So Brad wonders if a gimmick change would help. I don't know. But I don't think he wants to change a gimmick.
I think he loves that.
Yeah, gimmick. I think he's having a blast. Okan is having a blast. I'm working on my pronouns.
It's their version of the big man wrestler. You know what I mean? Like it's like
and Crash mentions that he's and Crash mentions that he's they're getting a really good response. Everywhere they go, they're getting a good response there. I just got to practice that more. And Crash also mentions had to laugh at Zack.
Use they them pronoun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Crash said have to laugh at Zack literally trying to stiff slap some life into Shota at the start of the bout. Yeah, that told the big story right there with Shota and Zack and their relationship. But nice win for Shota there and getting that one, and probably much needed for his character's development. All right, so
Gabe Kidd, right?
yeah. So Gabe Kidd, like I said, we don't know if when he's going to be back. It seems like he's just day to day. As we went on the air, Gabe Kidd is still scheduled to be in a preview tag. And he is also scheduled to be in a singles match this weekend at Oda Ward Gymnasium. So, and by this weekend, I mean like Friday in Japan, tomorrow, in about 12 hours or so. So we'll see how that all turns out. So that's the week ahead.
I have heard to temper your expectations about that one.
Yep, it just seems a little nerve-wracking. It just doesn't seem like it's coming along.
But here's the thing: he was never going to win this tournament.
No,
and if he forfeits one more match, he's most certainly out, because at best he could have a 5-4 record. And with the tiebreakers of some of the people he's given up already, it's mathematically very difficult to fit him in without like other people losing immensely. And I never really thought he was going to. He's got that global title, whatever program he has. Like, to me, the ideal thing is him dropping the title to Shota Umino at Wrestle Kingdom and then going to AEW. Because I just feel like they're kicking the tires on him. And if he's going to be part-time here and part-time there, it is not going to be maximizing the potential of what you can do with the airtime on New Japan.
Yeah. I mean, for my own selfish reasons, I don't want him to go to AEW, but I understand what you mean.
You see it. Like, it's exactly what happened with Will Ospreay. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, it has the same pattern right there. I don't think that he would do in AEW what Will has done, but we'll see. And I think the booking of Gabe, since he's been over there, shows that they wouldn't really know what to do with him or particularly care what to do with him. I think he would just be another guy on a 300-person roster.
I mean, Will Ospreay is just another guy on a 300-person roster.
Oh, that's not true. Come on now. That's ridiculous.
Here's the thing. They brought him in.
He's one of the biggest stars in the whole
company. They brought
him
in February of 2024. Had every opportunity to put the world title on him and make him feel special. They have bypassed it. Yes, I understand that he is injured right now. And
he's been in some of the biggest profile matches of the last couple of years.
I'm not saying that he's not been in the biggest profile. I'm saying that he had an opportunity to be the face of the company, the number one guy from the get-go, and really build around him, and they decided not to do that. And there's a real possibility that he is a really good wrestler with really great matches that never quite gets to the potential of being the absolute superstar of the States because of the booking.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's, the booking is one thing. That's what I'm saying about Gabe, is I don't know if they know what to do with him. All right, moving on. A block matches Friday. So that's Friday. There'll be at Oda War Gymnasium for 2 nights. So let's see what attendance is. I'm very curious to see what attendance is at Oda War Gymnasium for 2 days there. In that, Gabe is scheduled to team with Geto against Ishimori and Maloney, which would be a really interesting match. I kind of want to see that. I mean, Geto would certainly do the job in that one, I would think. But anyway, Gabe is still day-to-day, but that's supposed to be his. And I wouldn't have him do a preview tag either way. I mean, even if he is able to wrestle, I would have him.
Don't do that.
Yeah. No, don't even put him in there. Taichi versus Evil. So, that's our guy. He's going to go through his House of Torture gauntlet here soon. Tsuji versus Oiwa. That'll be interesting. And Finlay versus Tanahashi on Friday. Saturday, B block at Oda War Gymnasium. Shota Umino versus Ren Narita. There's always steam on that because of the Ren Narita betrayal. Phantasmo versus Zack Sabre Jr. Will Zack finally get his first win in the ring? Gabe is supposed to wrestle Drilla Maloney if he can go. That would be a really interesting one. The War Dog Derby there, but again, we're not betting the bank on that one happening. YOSHI-HASHI versus Great-O-Khan and Shingo Takagi versus Konosuke Takeshita. Yes, please give me more.
The campaign Saturday, of awesome continues.
Sunday, they're going down to Nagoya, heading down south to Nagoya. Sunday will be Sonata versus Taichi. So there's always that. Those two have a complicated thing going. Uemura against Evil. Tanahashi versus Oiwa. So that's there. That's the main event in Nagoya. Tana is main eventing a lot of these, since I think it might be his last time in the building. So yeah, that's Tana and Oiwa. I don't think would main event too many other places. Not an insult to them, but I think there would be other matches that would probably get the billing, except it's Tana's last tour. And then Monday and Tuesday off, and then they're in Osaka. So that's a very short trip. Nagoya and Osaka are pretty close to each other. Fairly short trip, but the 2 days off in there to rest up and head to the Doton Bori, get some good food. And then on the B block in Osaka on Wednesday, July 30th, it'll be Drilla Maloney versus Ren Narita, ELP versus Great-O-Khan, Shota Umino versus Shingo Takagi. Should be a good one. Gabe is scheduled to wrestle YOSHI-HASHI there if it happens. And Zack Sabre Jr. versus Konosuke Takeshita in Osaka. So
can't wait for that one.
That should be very, very interesting. I will be gone. I won't be here next week. Jeremy, you're going to be carrying things. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Good luck to you, Steven.
Yeah, So, but I'll be watching
myself. Who knows?
I'll be watching from afar. You'll have plenty to talk about. And then we'll get to some of these comments here. Brad says that Stardom saw what happens with part-time Mina. Stardom couldn't push her since she was in AEW so much, but AEW wasn't going to push her because she was still in Stardom. That's kind of how I feel about a lot of these guys that go back and forth. You just can't go all in on them right there. It's a tricky spot. And Crash says, strange decision to keep Gabe in or hold out for him. It stinks of that he had a more important role to play, and we're not very keen to replace him straight up.
I think it's that Shota match. That Shota Gabe Kidd match last year was really important, and I think that's the one that they really want to make happen.
All right. Anyway, folks, 4 more shows between now and next Thursday. So I'll definitely be watching. And Jeremy will be here to cover it with you. Hopefully with a guest or by himself. Jeremy,
who knows? Who knows? I haven't figured anything out. My life is chaos. I have no control over anything. Steven told me this weeks ago. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm on it. I've done a couple of solo shows. It's fine. If we do an hour, just me talking with this lovely motley crew of YouTube chat people, I think we'll be fine. Maybe Chris Samso will want to jump in. Who knows? The world's my oyster. I'll figure it out. Look, Steven, I hope you enjoy time with your family. I hope you enjoy time with the G1. And I hope that you enjoy freedom.
Oh, well, hey, I hope everybody here, I hope you, Jeremy, I hope all of you folks that have joined us today enjoy the rest of the G1. Encouraging signs in ring. Encouraging signs in ring. We'll be keeping an eye on that attendance too, and hope that people start to, maybe it'll build some momentum. Maybe people see that, hey, these shows have been pretty good. They'll do better in walk up, perhaps. That's my hope. I'm really rooting for it to turn up. We'll see what happens in Oda War Gymnasium. That's a big room to fill. So with that in mind, thank you, everybody here. Brad, Crash, Colin, Fernando, Maria, Jeremy. We're really grateful that you guys joined us here live. And anybody that's listening to this or watching this later on, we appreciate the time you spend with us. And we hope you enjoy the matches for the G1 Climax tournament. And with that in mind, we're going to sign off for now. For Jeremy Finestone, I'm Stephen Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style, and we will talk to you again real soon.